Chapter 151. Alex saw Shieldon started to evolve and excitedly fetched the item he had prepared for Shieldon. He got the steel plate from an S-Talent Agron on the champion rank from his TRH device and gave it to Shieldon. Shieldon, who slowly ate the whole steel plate, glowed even more intensely and began to transform. Alex and his Pokémon were eagerly watching Shieldon's transformation. After a few moments, Shieldon stopped glowing, and Alex saw the tall Bastiodon standing in front of him. Pokémon, Bastiodon. LV, 35. Type: Rock, Steel. Abilities: Sturdy. Gender: Male. Potential: Deep Gold. Moves: Innate Talent Rock Polish E. Innate Talent Sleep Talk. Innate Talent Flamethrower E. TM Taunt, TM Rock Slide, TM Rest, TM Earthquake, TM Flash Cannon. Bastiodon is bigger than an average Bastiodon and looked very threatening with his 1.7 meters height. Alex noticed that Bastiodon could suddenly use the move block after the evolution. This move works just like Crobat's mean look, so Alex already knows how this move will work in this world. Although there are several moves in this world similar to those in games, there are some moves like mean look block that Alex just has to test himself. Bastiodon looked at Alex and the others and showed an excited smile when he said aloud joyfully, "Hey, look. I'm just as cool as the two big brothers Crobat and Scizor now." Alex, who had just begun to see Bastiodon as an adult, immediately grabbed the hair of his head. Scizor and Crobat, who heard this, thought this sentence was childish too. But because they were being praised, they didn't show the same expression as the others. Combuskin showed a jealous look when she said aloud, "Brother Bastiodon, you look so cool." Bastiodon, who had heard praise from his younger sister, immediately showed a proud expression and a happy smile. Alex suppressed facepalming and kept on repeating in his mind, "He's still young. He's still young. He's still young." Gardevoir gently smiled when she said to the group, "Well, it was to be expected that he wouldn't suddenly become a different person when he evolves." Alex showed a thoughtful expression when he said, "It's not impossible. Some Pokémon evolution changes their sensitivity to emotions, such as Gyarados, who gets angry really easily in contrast to Magikarp. Although the character of the Pokémon cannot change, its sensitivity to emotions can change. But it depends on the Pokémon species at the end." Evie showed an intrigued expression when she said, "What about me, leader? Do you know if my evolution changes something?" Leader. I heard the Pokémon call the head of their group. Leader, thought Alex with a smile when he heard this title. "I found a book about it, and it shouldn't be the case with you," spoke Alex. "Especially since your character fits your evolution perfectly," thought Alex without saying it out loud. Shieldon, who had finally evolved to Bastiodon, was now many times stronger than before. The total base stats from 350 to 495 is a huge difference. Although the attack values have not increased significantly, the defense and SP. Def values have increased by at least 50 points each. Bastiodon now has a defense of 168 and an SP. Def of 138. These values are absolutely abnormal, and not many Pokémon can exceed one of these numbers. The increase of the HP value from 30 to 60 was especially important for Bastiodon in order to better fulfill its role as a tank. Alex, who knew that, had the feeling that Bastiodon can take a lot of damage now. Even though he's not an elite Pokémon, he should still be the Pokémon that can take the most hits. The two weak points Bastiodon really has are speed and attack. Damage. Fortunately, Rock Polish is an innate talent move, so it's not ridiculously difficult to train at the Master's rank. If Rock Polish reaches the Master rank, it can be combined with other moves and consequently allow Bastiodon to become faster in a fight without wasting any moves. So the Bastiodon has really only one weak point, that his attack stat is really low. Alex knows that but doesn't think it's really a problem. Bastiodon is a specialty of defense and one of the best Pokémon in this department. So Alex doesn't expect Bastiodon to be as balanced as Crobat is. Especially in team fights, Bastiodon is at least as important as Gardevoir, Scizor, or Ditto. Alex went in the direction of Ponyta and started healing the Pokémon. Although he loses 200 Pokédollars this way, it's only a drop in the bucket for Alex's daily expenses, so he has no problem using it here. Ponyta, who was forced to fight by Alex, would likely die if he left him so injured like that. Alex doesn't think he's a good person just because he healed an innocent Pokemon that he hurt himself. He knows himself that he would probably have caught and sold this Pokemon if it was a gold Pokemon. Ponyta woke up and looked confusingly at the surroundings. After seeing Alex and the other Pokemon, including Crobat and Scizor ignoring her, she immediately ran away. Alex, who saw this Pokemon running away in panic, said with a sarcastic smile, "Oh, I don't get a thank you." Crobat, who heard this, rolled his eyes at Alex's bad joke and continued to watch those around him. After a few seconds, Crobat showed a serious expression when he said, "I spotted a person." Chapter 152. A human. Probably an elite trainer. I doubt a normal trainer dares to enter the forest. But it is indeed weird that I meet another trainer here, thought Alex when he heard the warning from Crobat. In all of Kanto, there are only around 300 elite trainers who are registered under the Alliance. So it is relatively unlikely for Alex to meet an elite trainer in this large forest. Although the actual number is probably higher because not every elite trainer is registered under Alliance. Even then, there should not be more than 500 elite trainers in all of Kanto. Although the number of 500 sounds large, it is not enough considering the total number of trainers. There are more than 10,000 trainers who are officially registered. But according to Alex, this number is bound to be a lot bigger in reality. An elite trainer is more likely to register with Alliance rather than a normal trainer who does not get any benefits. That's why this number is so low. Crobat said in a pressing tone, "He's more than 1,200 yards from here and surrounded by 3 Pokemon." Alex thought, now it depends on whether I'm ready to take a risk to see if this trainer can bring me advantages. Let's start thinking about the worst situations that can happen. The trainer has a 2-strong flying, psychic Pokemon who can prevent my escape and attacks me for whatever reason. He ignores my warning that he will be hunted by the Alliance. Then, he also ignores my warning of being chased by Team Rocket and attacks me anyway, and kills me. Alex, who speculated these worst situations, couldn't help but smile. Is there one person who is ready to provoke the Alliance and Team Rocket at the same time in order to kill me? I've been thinking about really ridiculous odds. Crobat led us in his direction, said Alex. Crobat nodded with his serious face as he led Alex and his other Pokemon in the direction of this trainer. On the way, Alex saw a few weak Pokemon. But almost all of them ran away immediately when they saw Alex's group. Alex looked at the info on these Pokemon but didn't find anyone special, so he let these Pokemon run away. After a minute, Alex saw a man in his late 20s looking at him and his Pokemon. The calm look and the scar on his cheek made him look like a very experienced Pokemon trainer. The man had 4 Pokeballs on his Pokebelt. Usually, trainers only have their main Pokemon on a Pokebelt so that they can react quickly in any situation. Most elite trainers only have between 3 or 4 main Pokemon that they actively train and give valuable items. Only the very strong elite trainers or rich trainers can afford to train more Pokemon. The main reason is that it is usually better and more efficient to have 3 silver Pokemon than 6 bronze Pokemon. Although it is possible to buy 6 silver Pokemon, it is too costly for a trainer. Especially when you consider that you still have to spend money on food, TMs, items, and training equipment for each Pokemon. There are even elite trainers who only have 1 or 2 well-trained exceptionally strong Pokemon. Just like when playing a fighting game, using your most skillful combo is better than using random attacks. Together with the man, Alex saw 3 Pokemon who were watching him and his Pokemon carefully. Alex looked at the information of the 3 Pokemon. Pokemon, Pidgeot, LV, 46. Type, normal, flying. Abilities, keen eye. Gender, male. Potential, silver. Moves, tackle, sand attack, gust, mirror move, E, quick attack, wing attack, roost, E, whirlwind, agility, E, air slash. Innate talent, fly, E. TM, protect, TM, facade, TM, hyper beam, TM, toxic, TM, U-turn, TM, steel wing, TM, giga impact, TM, substitute. Pokemon, Scolipede, LV, 44. Type, bug, poison. Abilities, speed boost, hidden ability. Gender, female. Potential, shallow silver. Moves, Defense Curl, Rollout, Poison Sting, Screech, Pursuit, Protect, Poison Tail, Bug Bite, Venoshock, Takedown, Agility, Eat Toxic, E. Innate Talent, Pin Missile, E. Dot. Pokemon. Poniard. LV. 5. Type. Dark, Steel. Abilities. Defiant. Gender. Male. Potential. Shallow Gold. Move. Leer, Scratch, Fury Cutter. Dot. Alex, who saw this information, didn't quite know whether his expectation was exceeded or not. Even though the trainer had a Pokemon, Poniard, with good potential, it was not so good that Alex would look at it very greedily. The difficulty of attacking such an experienced trainer and successfully stealing his Pokemon wasn't worth it for Alex. Especially since Alex didn't really know the full strength and background of this person. Though I would try if it was a deep gold Pokemon with an evolution left. Only then does it make sense to risk my life. For an experienced trainer like him to have only 2 Pokemon at this level was really a slight surprise. Although the potential of these Pokemon wasn't that good, Alex didn't think these Pokemon would level up that slowly. I have to find more good items for Ditto quickly so that I can improve Ditto's potential. Or he will have the same problems as these Pokemon when he reaches the elite rank. He's already starting to level more slowly than my other Pokemon. I wonder how slowly he will level up when he reaches the elite level, thought Alex. Alex ended his thoughts and began to look in the direction of this man. Chapter 153. The man looked with a grave expression at the young trainer and his 7 Pokemon. When he noticed that Alex was coming too close, he said with a threatening tone, "Hey, what are you coming my way? If you get closer, I will consider it as an attack." Alex showed a friendly expression when he said, "I'm sorry if I scared you, that wasn't my intention. My Crobat just spotted another person, so I wanted to see who is brave enough to enter this forest. My name is Alex Stark. Nice to meet you." The man looked indifferently at Alex as he said, "My name is Adam. Now that we've exchanged greetings, you'd better leave me alone." Alex gave a wry smile as he said, "I can understand why you are so careful. But our strength is pretty similar, so you don't need to be so fearful of me attacking you." Although Alex has 2 elite Pokemon and 3 Pokemon between 35 to 39, his strength is not really better than that of this man. It is generally known that at higher levels the difference of strength between each level increases a lot. Just like how a Pokemon needs more and more express points after each level in the game, the power level of a Pokemon works similarly in this world. Basically, the power growth with each level is not linear but rather exponential. So the level difference matters a lot in this world. Especially after a Pokemon reaches the elite rank. Alex remembers a book that described this very well. The level difference under the elite rank. Greater than rank 4. Almost impossible, 16 greater than LV difference. Ridiculously big difference. The power gap is so big that the higher level Pokemon can hardly be harmed by the moves of lower level Pokemon. And even status effects are almost useless. Even 50 Pokemon on LV20 together can't defeat a LV36 Pokemon if it has at least one inadequate AoE move. Greater than rank 3. Very difficult, 11 to 15 LV difference. Very large difference. The higher level Pokemon takes hardly any damage from moves, and the status effects only partially work. Nevertheless, 10 Pokemon on LV20 can't defeat a LV35 Pokemon if it has at least one reasonably usable AoE move. Greater than rank 2. Difficult, 10-5 LV difference. Relatively large difference. The higher level Pokemon takes a part of the expected damage and status effects works almost to their full effect. The difference is too small to get a big advantage in group battles. Greater than rank 1. Feasible, 1 to 4 LV difference. Hardly any difference. Only in Pokemon close to the elite rank, like level 35 to level 39, there is a noticeable difference. The level difference in the elite rank. Greater than rank 4. Almost impossible, 11 greater than LV difference, same description as non-elite. Greater than rank 3. Very difficult, 6 to 10 LV difference, same description as non-elite. Greater than rank 2. Difficult, 5 to 3 LV difference, same description as non-elite. Greater than rank 1. Feasible, 1 to 2 LV difference, same description as non-elite. Of course, it's a very rough description of the level difference between 2 Pokemon. The power gap between a LV5 rank 2 Pokemon to a LV6 rank 3 Pokemon is not as big as said in this description. The boundaries between the levels are not that clear-cut and are rather rough general lines. Adam showed a serious expression. The fact that you are saying that due to the rational disadvantages and not because it is ethically wrong, shows that you are not a good-hearted person. Also, although we have really similar strengths, it does not mean that you cannot create a problem for me. Especially since you have a Pokemon that can teleport. Alex noticed that this person was smart. He liked his rational thinking and his analysis. Alex's first reaction was that it is not worth robbing him. And the reason he did not want to do it was not because of a moral point of view, but rather, it was too risky for him. He gave a slight smile. Although I will admit that I'm not a very good person, I'm not a crazy person who attacks every other trainer he meets. Rather, I usually give basic respect to every strong trainer passively. Alex noticed that this trainer was on constant vigilance and tried not to convince him that he was a good person. Half-truths are better to use in such a scenario. Adam showed a slightly sarcastic expression when he said, "Sure." Alex and Adam just looked at each other calmly and neither said anything for a few seconds, which made the atmosphere very strange. The Pokemon from both sides also look at each other with watchful eyes. Only Combusken and Poniard showed no watchful eyes but looked curiously at the Pokemon on the other side. Adam, who ended the silence first, said seriously, "So what do you want?" Chapter 154. Alex, who heard this, showed a thoughtful expression. "What do I want? Even I am not clear about that. I just wanted to see if I can find something interesting here. How should I know that I will meet such a skeptical trainer?" After a few seconds, Alex said seriously, "To be honest, it's just a coincidence. There aren't many elite trainers, so I wanted to see who was in this forest." He paused for a moment, and with a smile, he said, "By the way, are you a trainer from Unova?" "Well, yes, but no. Now that I have answered your question, let me ask one question to you too. Are you a well-known trainer? Reaching elite strength at your age is really no small matter." Alex noticed that Adam was really smart. He immediately noticed that Alex wanted to have information from him and immediately tried to get some information himself. Above all, he tried to trade useless information for half-useful. "Yes, I have a bit of fame in Kanto. Although I'm not that famous." Alex had no problem telling him that. Especially since one can find out quickly if one does a little research. He knew Alex's name and also saw all of his Pokemon, making things easy for him. Okay, makes sense. Otherwise, it would be strange. Though not that I care. I don't have time to talk to you here in the wilderness. After he said that, he started walking away with his Pokemon without saying another word. Alex, who saw Adam just rudely left, showed no emotion as he watched Adam slowly walk away. Although he wanted to talk to Adam a bit, it doesn't make sense to force it. Especially because Alex does not know the full strength of Adam. Even if Adam's fourth Pokemon isn't a powerful elite Pokemon, his two elite Pokemon are enough to have at least a 50-50 chance of beating Alex's entire team, 50-50 without Alex's tactics. Alex looked at his Pokemon and said, "Okay, let's move on. We have to reach Vermilion City today so that we don't miss the ship tomorrow morning." Combusken had a slightly confused expression when she asked, "Father, why did you talk to this man?" Alex, who heard this, put a finger on his lips and said mysteriously, "That is a secret." Combusken pouted and said as if she had been wronged, "Why? I want to know. I want to know." Scizor showed a joking expression as he said, "Little sister, don't worry. I'm sure the leader himself doesn't know this answer and just wants to appear mysterious." Evie, who is usually very protective of Alex, looked very serious when she said, "Brother, that's not very nice. I'm sure our leader has a reason to answer like that." Gardevoir, hearing such strong words from Evie for the first time, showed a slight playful smirk as she said, "Hee hee. Sister Evie, this is the first time you have said such unfriendly words to one of us." Evie, who overheard this, immediately made an apologetic expression when she looked in the direction of Scizor and said, "I'm sorry, Brother Scizor, if my statement offended you. It wasn't my intention." Scizor, who heard this honest apology, first showed a confused face and then said indifferently, "No, your statement wasn't really offensive. Little sister Gardevoir just wanted to tease you a bit." Evie showed a slightly confused expression when she heard the words. But when she heard the slight laugh from Gardevoir, she understood immediately. Alex expected Evie to get angry, but he was in for a surprise. Evie showed a relieved expression, understanding that she hadn't insulted a family member, and even made a slightly joyful expression. Is that really the same Evie that almost kills her opponent several times while fighting? Gardevoir stopped giggling and went to Evie and said with a gentle face, "Sister Evie, you worry too much. Nobody in the family has a problem if you say your opinion. Nobody will hate you. Believe me." Evie, who heard these words, showed that she understood with a bright smile and multiple nods. Gardevoir then said sincerely, "Ah. I also hope that you can forgive me for making fun of you. It was not my intention to make it uncomfortable for you." Alex, Crobat, and Scizor, who heard this talk, looked at each other and suppressed the feeling of giving a facepalm to themselves. All three had similar thoughts. Why do you tell Evie that she doesn't have to worry about insulting other family members when you're worrying yourself? Combusken, overhearing this talk, gave a bored expression as she said aloud, "Hey, I still want to know what the secret is." Alex, who heard this, said with a playful smile, "If you pass my test at the next training session, I will tell you." Combusken showed an excited expression as she said aloud, "Really? I will try really hard at the next training session and reveal this secret." Alex's other Pokémon, who heard this innocent answer of Combusken, couldn't help but smile. Even cold Pokémon like Crobat and Scizor gave a small smile for a moment. Alex and his Pokémon started walking through the forest after finishing this conversation. Chapter 155. The group kept walking until Crobat suddenly said, "I have discovered a group of 3 Pokémon that are slowly coming in our direction." Alex showed a peculiar expression when he said, "Be ready to fight. Let's see what strength this group of Pokémon has." After about 30 seconds, the group of Pokémon came into their sight, slowly coming in front of Alex's group. A group of 3 Magmar walked in front of the group with a nonchalant but slightly arrogant expression. 2 of the Magmars were only LV32 and LV37 and didn't have good potential, bronze and deep bronze. But one of these Magmar, who was obviously the leader, was really strong. Pokémon. Magmar. LV47. Type. Fire. Abilities. Flame body. Gender. Male. Potential. Deep silver. Moves. Ember, Leer, Smog, Ember, Smokescreen, Faint Attack, Fire Spin, Clear Smog, Flame Burst, Confuse Ray, Fire Punch, E. Lava Plume, Sunny Day. Innate Talent, Psychic, E. Alex, who saw this information, knew that this Pokémon was very dangerous. Although it has no trainer's Pokémon and is less dangerous than a LV48 Pokémon that is trained by a trainer, the level difference is so huge that it is relatively risky for Alex to fight these Pokémon. It's also much more dangerous than Kingler on the island, since Alex knew that this Pokémon has a good move like Psychic to quickly defeat his group. Only Scizor or, possibly, Bastiodon can survive a Psychic from this Magmar. With the Psychic being almost inevitable, this Pokémon is an almost unstoppable monster against Alex's group. Magmar looked at Alex's Pokémon and thought about the possibility of attacking Alex's group. He observed mainly Crobat and Scizor, who are on the elite rank. After a few seconds, he decided to talk to this group first and then decide. Although he thought he could win against this group, it would be a close fight that could lead to his defeat if he was not careful. Especially because he knows through experience that a trainer's Pokémon are a good deal stronger than the Pokémon of Wilderness. Magmar, who is already old and has ruled this part of this forest for a long time, knew that if the opponent is of similar strength, it is better not to fight recklessly. Magmar looked at Alex and his group and said, "Intruder, what are you doing here?" Alex, who could understand the words through the telepathy of Gardevoir, said with a solemn expression, "I have to cross this forest to get to my goal. Don't worry, I won't stay for long." Magmar gave Alex a cold look as he said, "You think that I will just forgive you after you illegally walk through my territory? Where did you get this arrogance, human? Some Pokémon species that rule a territory hate it when strong Pokémon or humans just enter it unauthorized. It is seen as provocative and almost always ends up as fighting between the two parties." Alex's group, who have a good fighting strength together, entered just like that in their territory. And this pissed off Magmar a bit. Although he didn't want to fight right away, he wanted compensation from these intruders. Should I say he is quite smart, or is it more proper to say that he is more experienced? With his potential, he has to be very old to reach this level, thought Alex when he noticed that Magmar was angry but preferred to avoid a fight. Alex, who already has been in the wilderness a lot, could understand the reason well. Pokemon in the wilderness, more often than not, can't heal their injuries quickly. Even though they heal on their own after a few days from injuries that are not critical, it is still very dangerous for a Pokemon not to be able to fight effectively for too long. Even if Magmar defeated Alex's group, he would surely suffer severe injuries, making him an easy target for other elite Pokemon who live in this forest. Although it is unlikely that at this point in time, another elite Pokemon from another area of this forest would attempt to attack Magmar, it is not impossible. Magmar, who has lived for a long time, knows that, and therefore doesn't want to fight futile if it can be avoided. Of course, if Alex does something that bothers Magmar so much that he is ready to take this risk and attack Alex. Alex showed a thoughtful expression when he said, "How about we come to an agreement?" Magmar kept a watchful eye when he said, "What kind of agreement are we talking about?" "One thing that is beneficial to both of us. Basically, a win-win situation." After a short dramatic pause, Alex said with a smile, "We're going to make a competition to decide whether we can walk through your area. One of your two subordinates will fight against one of my Pokemon with a similar level. And the winner will decide how we deal with this situation. If you win, I will heal your Pokemon and then leave your area immediately. And if I win, you will allow us to walk through your area. In addition, I will still heal Pokemon under you even if he has lost so that he can get at least valuable experience without any risks." Magmar, who knew that his subordinates probably couldn't win against Pokemon from a trainer at the same level, instantly understood that he would probably lose if he accepted this offer. But the thought that one of his subordinates can safely gain experience made him accept this unfair offer. Magmar thought for a few seconds and then said in a threatening tone, "Okay, but if my subordinates get permanent damage, I'll turn you into ashes." Alex looked at Magmar's cold face and showed a calm expression as he said, "No problem as long as you stick to your words." Magmar just looked at Alex and said, "In contrast to you humans, Pokemon are a lot more honest and don't try to play any tricks." Chapter 156. Magmar looked at one of his subordinates and gave him a signal with his eyes. That Magmar nodded and came forward. He stood up in front of Alex's group and took up a fighting stance. Pokemon. Magmar. LV, 32. Type. Fire. Abilities. Flame. Body. Gender. Male. Potential. Deep Bronze. Ember. Leer. Smog. Ember. Smokescreen. Faint Attack. Fire Spin. Clear Smog. Flame Burst. Confuse Ray. Fire Punch. Alex only has one Pokemon that has a similar level as the opponent. Next, he looked towards Evie, who is at LV 31. Evie, this fight is yours. But this time, I am warning you not to harm the Pokemon unnecessarily if it is unconscious. We will have a real problem this time if you don't control yourself." Evie, who heard this, had a serious expression when she said, "Don't worry, leader. I'll never do anything that can harm our family. All right, I'll trust you." Evie, who has not been able to execute Alex's order correctly many times by getting lost in her instinct, was touched by Alex's solid trust in her. She felt that Alex really trusted her, even though she has disappointed him so often. Even though she really tries to follow Alex's instructions, it is really hard for her to suppress her instincts while fighting. Fortunately, it's not that bad anymore, and Evie can keep her emotions under control for most of the time. Hopefully, I think too much, thought Alex as he gave Gardevoir a signal with his eyes to prepare the teleport if necessary. Although he believes that Evie can control herself in this situation where she either kills or permanently injures the opponent, he still wanted to play it safe. Evie went in front of Alex's group and got ready to fight. Alex looked at the Magmar and said, "Are you ready?" Magmar nodded and stood still in his fighting stance. 3, 2, 1, go, spoke Alex, giving the signal to start the fight. Magmar started preparing a move almost immediately. Evie, use Toxic. Magmar finished first and used the move Lava Plume. Fire energy was built up and quickly extended in all directions. And everything within approximately 12 meters of this attack was hit. Evie, who was only around 8 meters away, was hit and suffered good damage. Although Evie would later become a tank for Alex's group, now, as an Evie, she is not very good at taking the attack. Her average SP, def and poor HP values are not optimal for this role. Together with her low attack stats and swiftness, she is not ideally suited for that kind of fighting in this form. Evie endured the damage and used Toxic, which Magmar tried unsuccessfully to dodge. Magmar was hit by the Toxic, but he didn't seem to panic about it. Poison-type attacks from a Pokémon that is not at a much higher level or a Poison-type Pokémon is not that dangerous. Magmar seemed to be satisfied with the damage he dealt and started to prepare the same move again. Evie, use Work Up and slowly start running away from Magmar. Magmar and Evie started preparing each other's move almost simultaneously. Though Evie was a little bit late. After a few seconds, Evie successfully used Work Up while slowly running away from Magmar. Magmar also finished his move and used Lava Plume again. Like last time, it dealt damage in the hole surrounded by Magmar within around 12 meters. Unfortunately for him, Evie had started running away from Magmar before this. That's why the distance was more than 15 meters between them, and Magmar couldn't hit Evie. Alex, who saw this, still didn't think Lava Plume was a bad move. On the contrary, he considered it a very efficient move. First, this move hits all Pokémon within 12 meters and can even give the status effect of burning. Alex also thinks from experience that this range of 12 meters can be increased if this move is trained on the expert rank. Although this move will probably never have a very long range, it is still a very, very powerful move in battles against multiple Pokémon. Especially against weak Pokémon that can be KO'd with one hit. Evie, use Work Up again while you keep on evading. Magmar, seeing Evie avoid his move, was a little pissed off. He didn't think that this weak Evie could dodge his best move that easily. His combat experience with a trainer was really very small and shallow. And usually, only a few Pokémon species fight with special tactics, so he could never discover this weak point. He also has little combat experience because he is subordinate to the Pokémon that owns this territory. And most of the time, he doesn't need to fight for his food. Magmar looked at Evie and quickly started running in front of her. He was many times faster than Evie and could quickly reduce the distance to 1 meter. Then he immediately started preparing a move. Evie finished first and started using Work Up again, as Alex told her. At the same time, she started running away from him. Alex, who saw this, couldn't help but feel sorry for Magmar, who doesn't have an expert rank move and is therefore bullied by Evie. Magmar, who was finished a good bit later, used Smog on Evie, who was more than 5 meters away. Smog is a move that is easier to evade than Toxic but can hit more Pokémon more easily. That's why there are still a few trainers in this world who prefer this move. Magmar began to spread a large cloud of poison quickly towards Evie. Unfortunately, Evie was too slow and not far enough away to dodge this move and was hit and poisoned by it. Crobat, in comparison, could avoid this relatively sluggish move just with his speed alone. But Evie, who is not very fast, couldn't dodge. Alex, who saw this, didn't show an annoyed expression but a slightly happy expression. Evie, use Facade. Now that Evie has been poisoned and strengthened herself with Work Up, Alex is excited to see how much harm she can do to Magmar. Magmar, who took time to realize that he had hit Evie, gave a grin and began to prepare for his next move. Evie successfully prepared her move first, and her whole body started to light up with normal-type energy. As a rule, this is also one of the disadvantages of close combat moves under the expert rank. That is, even after you have prepared the move, you cannot use it immediately and must first come into range. Although you can move again with the move after preparing it, it is very uncomfortable. Magmar, who was back in range of Lava Plume, used this move again and met Evie, who was running in the pure direction. Evie, hit by the move, got the burned status effect along with her previous poisoned status effect. When he saw that Evie now had 2 status effects, he was surprised to see how the normal type energy of Evie's body light up and began to increase. Why can the move Facade be activated more than once? If that is really the case, this move is even better than I thought, especially in some particular situations. Though it depends on how much improvement will 2 statuses create. I will test it more closely later, thought Alex when he saw the effect of the Facade. Evie looked very hurt, and Alex would estimate that she had no more than 40% HP left. But even with these injuries, she began to run in the direction of Magmar and used facade. Evie's whole body was surrounded by normal-type energy when she slammed Magmar with her body. Magmar tried to evade but was hit in the head due to him trying to dodge. A critical hit. Magmar showed a very painful expression after being hit and was thrown more than 15 meters away. As his body flew across the ground, Evie's tiny body that could fling Magmar so far away showed how much power this move had. Magmar's slightly deformed head began to bleed as he lay unconscious on the floor with stars in his eyes. Alex saw how Evie had defeated Magmar with only one hit and saw how Magmar was injured even more and couldn't help but think, I will definitely test this move. Chapter 157. Magmar silently looked at his subordinate's state, and only after a few seconds, he spoke. Okay, heal my subordinate, and you can go. Alex, who heard this, looked at Gardevoir and walked towards Magmar. Evie, who had a few injuries, used rest and didn't wait for Alex to heal her. Alex had told her several times that it would be better if she used this healing move to heal. This way, she won't need to explicitly train it. Alex saw that the Magmar leader kept his word and did not attack him, so he began to heal Magmar. Magmar's subordinate woke up after a few minutes and looked at the surroundings in a bewildered manner. The Magmar leader said, "We're leaving," and started walking away as his two subordinates followed him nimbly. Alex waited until Evie woke up and started walking with his group through the forest. After several hours of walking, Alex and his Pokémon were near the forest's end close to Vermilion City. Fortunately, he didn't come across any other strong Pokémon and was able to get through the forest relatively smoothly. Although he was attacked at times, there was no elite Pokémon among them, so Alex's group was never in real danger. Alex started to put all of his Pokémon except Gardevoir, Crobat, and Scizor in his Pokéball and walked through the city entrance. There are Pokémon that could have a negative impact on the city if they were taken out. So in the city, trainers are not allowed to take out some specific Pokémon species. There is a list released by the Alliance mentioning the banned species. The reasons for the ban are not always the same. Some Pokémon are not allowed to enter because of their size, like Wailord, some for smell, like Muck, etc. In addition, a trainer who does not have a high status in the Alliance cannot enter the city with more than 3 Pokémon. Alex, who entered the city with his 3 Pokémon, went to a hotel to stay overnight. He has to catch a ship the next day, so he wanted to rest well. As far as he knows, the ship will sell the tickets very early and leave shortly afterward. Although the tickets can also be ordered, you have to be a high-ranking person in the Alliance and have certain connections. Fortunately, Alex knows Professor Walder, who has promised to transfer the ticket today. He had the feeling that the professor really appreciated him and was ready to help him a little now and then. Alex remembers from his conversations with Professor Walder that Professor was also a trainer who worked his way up from an ordinary family and was not born with a golden spoon. Maybe that was one of the reasons why he appreciated Alex so much. Alex and his Pokémon entered the hotel room that Alex had booked and, as always, began to go into their usual routine. At this moment, Alex started thinking about the promise he had given Gardevoir when she was Ralts. Alex had not forgotten the promise to bring Gardevoir to her mother and knew that he could not delay it any longer. The ship would leave the next day, so he had to tell the truth to Gardevoir today. I think I should redeem my promise today and bring Gardevoir to her mother. After all, I promised it. Then he got a bit sad when he thought about the reaction of Gardevoir. He thought, should I delay it? FCK. It makes no sense to delay it further. Besides, I promised her. Now I can only hope that she takes it better than I imagined. Although he felt nothing for Gardevoir's mother, he felt very reluctant about the grief that Gardevoir was about to experience. It's really tough to be a father. Alex's Pokémon, especially Gardevoir, noticed that Alex's mood was getting worse as he sat on the sofa thinking about something. Father, what's going on? Why are you in such a bad mood all of a sudden? Alex, who heard this, felt even worse as he said, Gee Gardevoir. It's about the promise I gave you. I'm going to take you to your mother today. Gardevoir, who heard her father stutter for the first time, began to look very worried. Alex, who didn't know what else to say, began to look wordlessly in the direction of the Gardevoir. Although Alex knew that he would make Gardevoir worried if he behaved like that, he just can't hide his emotion from Gardevoir even if he wants to. This time he wished that the Gardevoir couldn't sense his emotions. Alex looked at the blank looks of Crobat and Scizor and the curious looks of the other Pokémon. We'll all go there together. In comparison to the other Pokémon, Crobat and Scizor did not show a happy expression but a somber one instead. Gardevoir, who felt Alex, Crobat, and Scizor mood was getting more and more anxious, had a very uneasy feeling. Even though she sensed so, she didn't want to start thinking about it. Alex called all of his Pokémon except Gardevoir back to his Pokéballs and said solemnly, "Gardevoir, teleport us to Pewter City." "Father, it's too far. I can't teleport this far. I can teleport to Celadon City at most." Alex, who knew that Gardevoir's range had increased significantly, thought that she could now teleport that far, but it looks like that is not the case. Maybe only when she is on the elite rank can she teleport all over Kanto, he thought. Alex thought for a few seconds and said, "Can you teleport to Celadon City first and then to Pewter City? This range should be okay." Gardevoir nodded and said, "Yes, that is possible. Although we have to wait a few minutes in Celadon City before I can teleport that far again." Alex, who heard that it only took a few minutes, showed no expression when he said, "Let's go." Ellipsis. After Alex and Gardevoir waited 10 minutes in Celadon City, they teleported to Pewter City. Chapter 158. Pewter City. Alex, who was back in the city, couldn't help but think back about his journey. After all, it had been only a few months since it started all here. Not even 4 months ago, Alex was a weak guy who was robbed by feeble third-class criminals. However, now he is an elite trainer with a high position in Team Rocket and has built his connections in the Alliance. Alex looked at the city for a few seconds before saying, "Gardevoir, follow me." Gardevoir nodded nervously and started following Alex. After several minutes, Alex and Gardevoir were in front of an entrance to the Viridian Forest. Although Alex couldn't remember exactly where the grave is, he remembered the section of the forest. So it would be relatively easy to find. He also planned to see if that gold victory bell was still in the same section or somewhere else. Although it had been several months, it was not impossible that Victory Bell had stayed in this section if it finds enough food there regularly. He wanted to go first to the area where he found the Victory Bell and only then to Gardevoir's mother's grave. Alex had a feeling that after this visit, he wouldn't feel like doing anything else today. Alex's group, which is ridiculously strong for this forest, was not attacked by one Pokémon. Only a few aggressive or a group of arrogant Pokémon would attack Alex's group. But when they saw that Alex's group is so much stronger than they are and they are outnumbered too, they ran away without thinking twice. After 1.5 hours, Alex came to the section where he found the gold victory bell. But so far, he couldn't find anything that shows that it was nearby or hunting. I'll look around for a few hours, and if I still can't find anything, I'll give up. Crobat, who heard this, had a confused expression when he said, "Are you sure you want to do this? Sounds like a waste of time to me." Alex showed an ironic expression when he said, "Oh, really good that I have such a powerful Pokémon that can look into the future. Why don't you start the fortune-telling business?" Crobat, who heard it, showed an annoyed expression when he said, "Just because I said my opinion, you don't have to answer so sarcastically. That is really unnecessary." Alex noticed that he was in a really bad mood today and that he was really a bit sensitive today. But I couldn't do anything about it. He also had the feeling that Crobat was a bit more unfriendly than usual. "Let's go." Alex and his other Pokémon started to go through the section. But they didn't catch anything in the 3 hours, and only more bronze Pokémon appeared that Alex didn't want to capture. Okay, that was really a waste of time. Crobat snorted after glancing at Alex and said nothing more. Although he was right this time, he knew that a gold Pokémon was really worth it to search through this section again, even if the chances to find it is very unlikely. Even with the probability of only 10%, if there is a chance to get several million Pokédollars for only 3 hours of work, why not just do it? Even for Alex, who has a high income, this is a large amount of money to obtain. Alex knew that he couldn't drag this thing out any longer, so he and his Pokémon went to the section of Gardevoir's grave. Gardevoir, who noticed that Alex, Crobat, and Scissor's emotions got worse and worse, couldn't help but get very nervous. She had a very uneasy feeling. She started fidgeting her fingers. After 10 minutes, Alex came in front of a flat grassy area, where there was one beautiful stone. On this stone, there were words, "A good mother rests here," written. She looked at Alex with a hopeful look. This look was, "Please tell me it isn't what I think it is," and seemed almost desperate to Alex. Alex, who already had teary eyes, couldn't stop tears coming out as he shook his head with a melancholy expression. That was the first time he cried in this world, and he hopes it will be the last time. Gardevoir, who saw the sad face of Alex, started to cry even more and felt as her heart was gonna break. Alex and his Pokémon all got very sad seeing her cry. They all immediately went around Gardevoir to hug and comfort her as best as they can. After several minutes, Gardevoir stopped crying and just looked towards the grave with a heavy expression. Alex, who saw this, couldn't help but ask, "Daughter, are you okay?" Gardevoir didn't look at Alex and said sadly, "Father, isn't this weird? Even though I've never met my mother, I feel these painful emotions when I see her tombstone." Alex sat down next to Gardevoir and gently said, "No, it's not. Although it will probably make you even more down, I think I should tell you the story about your mother. Do you want to hear it?" Gardevoir, who heard that, nodded and said nothing. Alex, who half hoped that she didn't ask, slowly said, "Okay. I'll tell you." Chapter 159. One day, your father, Scizor, Scyther, and Crobat Golbat were walking through this forest when we suddenly came across a group of Pokémon surrounding a single Pokémon. This group included 8 Pinsir, and the one being surrounded was your mother. Your mother was many times stronger than the group of Pinsir and normally would have defeated them with ease. But your mother, who was weakened by your birth, was not in a fighting condition and could not fight like always after the surprise attack she received. Gardevoir, who heard this, became a lot sadder and began to sob. She felt like her mother only died because she was born. Alex, who heard this, knew that he had hurt Gardevoir with it but knew better than to lie to Gardevoir. Above all, he hoped that the Gardevoir will think back to her mother positively and not as a painful reminder even if it hurts now. Unfortunately, the Pinsir group badly damaged the egg and almost killed you. Your mother was so angry that she fought this group of Pinsir to death despite the injuries. With the grave injury, she was on the verge of death, so she quickly defeated the 8 Pinsir with one hit. But in doing so, she overused her remaining vitality and increased her injuries. At this point, I wanted to go to heal her and save her life. Even though she was grievously injured and in a critical situation, she could still have survived. Alex paused for a short while before continuing. Although your mother must have sensed my intention, she used Healing Wish without hesitation of a second and entirely used her vitality. She put all her life energy into this one move to increase the chance of saving your life. Your mother was willing to sacrifice herself for even the chance to save your life. Gardevoir, who heard this, began to weep as she looked at her mother's tombstone. She didn't understand why her mother would do such a stupid thing. She would like to say to her mother, "It's not worth it." But unfortunately, she could only look at the tombstone. Gardevoir and Alex sat by the gravestone for almost an hour and started talking about several things. After the talk, even though Gardevoir's face was still messed up, she had at least stopped crying. Gardevoir got up slowly and sadly began to walk away from the tombstone. Alex, who saw this, couldn't help but feel that he really didn't solve this situation optimally. And that Gardevoir's pain had increased because of his inability. He looked at Gardevoir with eyes full of guilty and said, "I'm sorry." With worn-out eyes from crying for a long time, Gardevoir looked at her father confused and asked, "Why are you apologizing?" Alex didn't say anything for a few seconds when he finally said, "I know that I'm not a good father or person and actually not a good influence. To be honest, I don't understand why your mother didn't teleport the egg to another location." Alex paused for a few seconds when he said, "Honestly, your dad is a really bad person." Gardevoir began to look at her father and said out loud, "What are you talking about? You are the best father I could wish for. If you dare to say something like that again, I'll get mad." Alex slightly smiled as he said in a scornful tone, "I am greedy, arrogant, manipulative, and often apathetic. I have killed several people or got them killed. I even tortured Crobat at our first meeting so that he would listen to me. I see all living beings as useful objects and not as living beings, except for a couple of individuals. Alex paused and started to laugh mockingly, haha. Although I'm not a monster, I'm really not a good person. Gardevoir, you are by far the nicest Pokemon or person I've seen and actually almost completely unsuitable to me. I know that a child sees his parents as. Before Alex could say anything further, Gardevoir suddenly shouted. I know. So stop talking about it. Gardevoir looked at Alex with anger and began to speak too loudly. Why do you have to say that? I'm already ignoring what you're doing and not asking anything about it. You are my father. And even if you are a monster, which you are not, if you think that you can get rid of me with such words, then you can forget it. I am your daughter, no matter what you say. Alex, who heard these words, didn't know what to say for a moment. After a few seconds, he said, I'm not trying to get rid of you. I really see you as my daughter, but I want you to understand what kind of person your father is. The tears she had stopped with so much effort started rolling again. She said with much effort, I know my father. You are a much better person than you just said. I know that father is also very self-critical and judges himself worse than he really is. Although Alex thinks the Gardevoir is living in a fantasy world, he said nothing. He put an arm around Gardevoir's shoulder and slowly walked in the direction of their family with her, who was starting to get worried. All of Alex's Pokemon had gloomy expressions, and no one tried to say anything when they walked away together. Alex, who saw the sad faces of his family, said quietly, let's go home. Chapter 160. Vermilion City. In a hotel, Alex and his Pokemon were all silently training. After the visit to the grave of Gardevoir's mother, the mood in the room really took a deep dive. Although everyone tries to stay positive, today wasn't a day that it was possible. Alex felt the same and hoped that it will probably be better after a good night's rest. A good night's rest can change the atmosphere, hopefully for the better. After several hours, Alex and his Pokemon went to sleep unusually early. And the quiet night passed without any further anomaly. Alex, who was woken up early by his alarm clock, looked around the hotel room. After not seeing any other Pokemon for a few seconds, he got up and walked towards the bathroom. When he turned on the shower, he thought about yesterday's event but immediately suppressed his thoughts and began to think about other things. Alex recalled that he still has to test the move facade. Yesterday, he actually wanted to do it, but later, he didn't feel like doing it. He also knew that the ship would leave in 3 hours and that he didn't have much time left. After Alex had a good shower, he thought that soon his Pokemon will start to wake up and start training. Combusken, who had already half forgotten what she saw yesterday, went to Gardevoir with a cheerful smile and started talking to her. Gardevoir, who was still sad, felt a bit better when she saw Combusken talking to her with such an innocent smile. Evie, who saw this, also went to Gardevoir and talked about various little things with her. Crobat and Scizor started bickering with each other again as usual. Ditto and Bastiodon talked about various things with a slight smile. And the atmosphere in the room had already become better than yesterday. Seeing this improvement, Alex thought with a smile, although I can see that Gardevoir is still very down, it is at least not as gloomy as yesterday. Hopefully, she will soon get joyful again like usual and enjoy her life. After 30 minutes, Alex finished preparing breakfast and distributed it among the Pokemon. Although the mood at breakfast wasn't bad, it was a bit reserved than usual and a bit weird. After breakfast, Alex and company went to the training room of the hotel, which he had rented for 2 hours. Alex did not try to save money and borrowed the best and most stable measuring machine that the hotel owns. Although this machine can no longer withstand the damage after a certain limit, Pokemon under the champion rank are not a problem as long as the attack is physical. Alex, who wanted to test the strength of the move facade, thought that the money for this machine was worth it if he can accurately analyze facade. Okay. Evie, use facade normally first. Evie nodded and started preparing facade. After a few seconds, she started running towards the machine while using facade. 220 was displayed on the screen after Evie hit the machine. Crobat, use toxic on Evie. Evie showed a calm expression when he heard this and got poisoned by Crobat without showing any change on her face. The poison from an elite poison-type Pokemon is no joke and very harmful to Pokemon below the elite rank. But Evie endured it with no problem. Okay. Evie, use facade again. After a few seconds, Evie started using the move facade again. 345 was displayed on the screen after Evie hit the machine. Alex, who saw that the strength was not doubled, was not surprised. He already thought the facade would only be good on the expert rank like all other moves. He was even surprised that the number had increased so much. Can it be that the amplification also depends on the strength of the status effect? Let's test it just to be on the safe side. Evie, use rest. After Evie woke up, the test continued. Evie hit the machine again after she was poisoned by Scizor. Alex saw the number 320 and showed a slight change of expression on his face. It really has something to do with that, thought Alex as he continued with the next test. When the number 413 was displayed, Alex knew that the move facade has really good potential. After half an hour, Alex got the following results. 1. Evie normal, 220. 2. Evie poisoned Crobat, 345. 3. Evie poisoned Scizor, 320. 4. Evie poisoned and paralyzed Crobat and Scizor, 413. 5. Evie burnt Combusken, 310. 6. Evie burnt Gardevoir, 240. 7. Evie poisoned and paralyzed and burnt Crobat and Scizor and Gardevoir, 402. 8. Evie poisoned and paralyzed and burnt Crobat and Scizor and Combusken, 450. The result of the 8th test particularly impressed Alex very much. Unfortunately, the move facade is not on the expert rank and is, therefore, a good deal weaker than usual. Out of interest, he even let Crobat use the move cross poison against the machine once, and the result was surprising. 1220 was the number displayed when Crobat hit the machine. Alex, who saw this, knew that this number had more to do with the elite level of Crobat, and it is not fair to compare it to Evie. Not to mention, Crobat had used the move on the expert rank. This was like cheating against Evie. No wonder that elite Pokémon are so prominent. Even their moves get such a spike in power. If you like this video, please like, comment, share and most importantly subscribe. Also click on notification bell and set it on all.